The 1990s Chicago Bulls have three things in common with the Steph Curry era Golden State Warriors. Number one, they're both among the greatest teams of all time. Number two, they both had Steve Kerr. And number three, they both ran one of the most powerful actions in basketball history, split action. Split action also has a long history in the NBA, going back to the days of Pistol Pete Maravich and others in the 1970s. The devastating thing about split action is that you need to defend both the rim and the perimeter, but you never know which one. If you're trying to take away the three-point line, you're probably going to get embarrassed by giving up an open layup. But if you're covering the lane to prevent cuts and layups, good luck trying to get around a screen to cover Steph Curry at the three-point line. That's the terrifying reality of guarding split action. But what exactly is split action? Let's break it down. It starts with an entry to the post, and this is where good passers and decision makers like Draymond Green shine, being able to assess the defensive coverage in real time and make the right play. Once the ball's in the post, you'll have a player on the wing and another player up top that will screen for each other and cut off of each other. They'll come together and then split apart in some way, pulling the defense in separate directions. And that's why it's called split action. Usually the player on the wing will be the screener, but either player can set the screen or use the screen. There are also some examples where the action can happen between a player on the wing and another in the corner instead of the top. And to make it even more unpredictable, the man in the post doesn't need to be a big, and there can be a big man involved in the action on the perimeter. Due to the amount of combinations that can happen, this is an extremely difficult action to read and also to defend even when you read it perfectly. On this example, we see Steve Kerr set a screen for Tony Kukoc. Unfortunately for Steve Kerr, he gets bulldozed by Malone, but it opens up a wide open three for Tony Kukoc. Here we see once again Steve Kerr setting the screen, but this time it's for Michael Jordan. Here we see the Utah Jazz with Malone and Stockton running the action, but it results in a mid-range. Here's a different variation of it where MJ's on the wing and he's going to set the screen, but he's going to slip for a cutting layup. And this one's really creative because Michael Jordan screens for Pippen, who jumps for the shot, but instead of shooting, he recognizes that MJ is sealing his man and he hits MJ for the cutting dunk. Another variation here where Steve Kerr sets the screen, but instead of cutting, he pops out for a mid-range jumper. But like I said earlier, there are some examples where the player at the top of the key is the one setting the screen. Another wrinkle is faking a dive cut to get the defender off balance, then veering back into the action, recognizing the defender has gone under and hitting the quick load three. And the action doesn't have to stop there. You can also execute a handoff, attack a closeout, and kick back to the screener popping out for three. Or if you have the gravity of Steph Curry, you can simply wait for two players to lunge at you and attack off the dribble. This action causes a lot of miscommunication, like we see here where Vinny Del Negro expects to switch onto Stockton, but Avery Johnson doesn't switch, so Del Negro shoves him towards Hornacek. And while it's clear that split action has deep roots in basketball history, Steve Kerr's Warriors took the action and poured gasoline on it with a small but powerful modification. Instead of only sticking with the three-player alignment we've talked about, Kerr would have a fourth player come from the weak side and curl over Curry, and then set a second screen for Curry to run off of. And here we see Jarrett Allen hedge the action, so Looney gets the ball on the roll for an and one. This time the big plays the roll there, but Curry simply pump fakes to get open for a three. Portland defends this one pretty well, getting over the screen and stunting off of Draymond, but that's still a shot that Curry can hit in his sleep. And in this modified version of the action, Curry is acting as a curl screen, and here we see Jordan Poole curl over him with McCollum trailing, so if Curry's man doesn't help, then Poole can get an easy layup. McCollum botches the switch here and Curry gets the 3. So on a play like that, why can't you just play the passing lane off a non-shooter like the Bulls do here? Because then Curry is coming off of that screen with nobody to contest him on the other side. So you can see why this action worked in multiple eras of NBA history, but Steph Curry and the Warriors took it to a new level. Thanks for checking this one out. If you enjoyed this video, I think you'd also really love my video on how the 2004 Detroit Pistons upset the LA Lakers in the finals. Here's a link to that one in the video and in the description.